Heavily armored hostile detected.
Yeah, this has to be my favorite heroic build because it'll never be good on Legendary, no matter what. Legendary, especially with Black Tusk enemies too, they resist fire so badly. They basically react like hunters. Every enemy is like a hunter towards fire. I mean, it doesn't last as long, it does less damage, and they immediately react by diving to cover and starting to shoot. Like, it doesn't even take them out of combat completely. It's kind of ridiculous to me, but I also encountered that from Black Dust on Heroic. The difference is on heroic, I can usually still beat them on this guy. But yeah, on legendary, they're always Black Tusk, in addition to also being even stronger. And so fire pretty much just does nothing. And then on top of that, like, I'm not a pure tank, so I'm not tanky enough to tank on legendary, nor do I do enough damage to be a damage on legendary. So he's not really, I would never say to use this build in legendary missions for that reason. But I mean, most content I play on this game is on heroic difficulty, not legendary, and for that, this guy feels like one of the best and most fun builds. Now, I felt like this control point was harder also because it was only me doing it, but also just because of the terrain, and like, you still take, like, you're still not a pure tank, so I still have to take cover, I still gotta watch my flanks, but I'm tanky enough that I feel like I can utilize going in close range, even in solo heroic most of the time, relatively fine, and then just using cover near me while I'm doing it to just top off my armor is all I'm really doing. And then I also even learned that, yeah, actually using the Firestarter bonus armor from going cover to cover actually proves to be very useful. Like, it's because it like gives you bonus armor to protect your armor as you're going towards enemies, I've noticed. So, and then I just break out of it to flamethrower them and go back to my shield, and then my main health doesn't take any damage that way. But yeah, this guy, like, his flamethrower alone is all he needs to take out reds in just 4 or 5 hits, because the fire activation always kills a red enemy very quickly. I'm also, if you haven't noticed, I'm actually using my sidearm on this guy because I love the shotgun, but also shotguns tend to run out of ammo quicker. Now, I didn't on this guy after I continued on with this control point too, but like right now, I'm just using the Firestarter because I haven't been able to find, I've scrapped on my sawed-off shotguns, now I'm trying to find one again. But yeah, ultimately what I want to get is a sawed-off shotgun with Ignite on it as well as his sidearm, because the flamethrower combined with that should be enough damage to, I mean, it already is enough on my Firestarter to pretty much take out purple enemies super quick. So I feel like I could do that to take out purple enemies also even quicker, as well as save ammo on my main shotgun, and then just use that one for elites and named enemies. And yeah, his damage just still seems pretty good. I mean, he can take out he takes out the name guy within just 2 cycles. That's the thing, he takes out elites in just 1 cycle now, which he couldn't do consistently with Pyromaniac. But putting Ignite on a good automatic shotgun is enough, I noticed, with this flamethrower. With just, use the flamethrower to set him on fire, switch to the shotgun, unload the whole mag. That's enough to kill an elite enemy every time on him, despite the fact he has 0 damage investment on his guns. So I think that's really good. It definitely makes him do more DPS than my pure tank build, at least, which I would hope, since he's not doing that. So yeah, and also, like, he's just like, the Striker shield is more durable than the Crusader shield, I can tell. The expertise helps it more because it increases its regeneration for both active and holstered regeneration, unlike the Crusader and Bulwark where it's only active. And then Vanguard, of course, comes into play, especially in solo, because then I can just maintain my shield even better. And then that also makes me an asset on a team, because Vanguard helps me buff teammates a lot. Then the Firestarter tree itself makes me buff, and with Striker Shield, makes me buff teammate damage a good amount too. And then, of course, having an infinite flamethrower pretty much can help a team, at least on heroic, very well, because I can set enemies on fire constantly, and they don't resist the flames on heroic nearly as much. At least all the factions except Black Tusk don't, I believe. Which makes it easier for me to kill them, and makes it easier for teammates to kill them, of course, and also so that they stop damaging us, is what happens. And then the last thing is, like, one other thing I like about this build practically is that the fact that my fire, the thing I use to set enemies on fire, comes primarily through my signature weapon, means that hunters and EMPs and all that crap can't shut it down. I can shut my shield down, though, which can still be annoying, but they can never shut my flamethrower down, which is such a good feeling. Like, because, the meta build out there is the skill-based, sticky bomb, chem launcher, for fire. And of course, it does way more damage and can set groups of enemies on fire much more easily than the flamethrower can. Now, the flamethrower can still set groups of enemies on fire, but you got to spread it around, is the thing, which also wastes your ammo more. But another thing, like, as long as you maintain a lot of ammo, which is not too hard to do if you're just using it to shoot bursts of flame and then switch to your shotgun to finish them off, you can like stack a lot more ammo on your flamethrower, and then depending on if I just need to or if I see an opportunity, then I will just unload an entire clip of my flamethrower into something, which is still a good amount of damage just because it's a signature weapon. So you can still use it that way, which again further helps him be better DPS support than my pure tank is, at least. But then on heroic, he's still tanky enough to play the part of a tank while still supporting his teammates, still setting everything on fire, buffing teammate damage too, staying in close range all the time. So yeah, this just feels like a perfect. I would say this build actually is practically good on heroic. It's just it'll never be good on legendary is the thing. But legendary you don't have to do in this game, honestly, and it's not even the highest difficulty for most content, just special content. So it is what it is. I mean, again, I made my 3 other builds, which is my pure tank build, my pure skill build, and then my pure, well, not pure, but he's like a hybrid, but he's still a striker gun build. Like, all of those guys are still very useful on legendary specifically too. And my pure tank build and my pure skill build are probably some of the best builds to bring in legendary. But even my gun build, my hybrid gun build, is still a better asset than this guy on legendary. Obviously, because statuses don't matter, so then you just want DPS more. And he still has enough survivability on him, and he still has Vanguard to further buff the armor of his teammates, with Coyote Mask buffing everyone's damage too. And then his own damage actually is pretty good as well. So that's why he's still very good to bring in legendary missions too. But this guy, he'll never be good for that. He's my 4th build. I suppose, 3 is meant to be meta. The 4th you just do for fun. And this is mostly for a fun build. It's like an infinite flamethrower. But again, it's like, yeah, don't bring this guy in legendary. But everything else, I would still argue he's still a solid, practically useful build, just like my other ones, for heroic difficulty, which is most content anyway. But yeah, just legendary, I'd shy away from this.